to honor our invitation despite the short notice. Today's encounter is meant to correct some distortions as well as point out some untruths that have been said to the Ghanaian people lately by some individuals and groups who argue against the compilation of a new register. And so you can understand the importance of today's encounter. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all are aware, the fundamental concerns that have caused the EC to suggest the production of a new register border on the technical viability of the Biometric Verification Management System, BVMS. At the center of these concerns is the obsoleteness of the biometric verification equipment. It should be noted, however, that the conclusion that these equipment are obsolete was reached based on their performance and on the views of manufacturers and vendors. What that means is that the Electoral Commission did not just wake up one day to say these equipment, according to our estimation, are obsolete. It was a function of some assessment and also the performance of these equipment and the fact that those who manufactured them themselves had agreed that they were obsolete. It is, however, unfortunate to observe that a group that purports to resist a new voter register has attempted in their latest stand to insinuate that the EC's claim about obsolete equipment is sheer mendacity. They argue that their position is vindicated by some alleged email correspondence between them and the manufacturers. It is a considered view of Mass Action Committee that such a conclusion could only be a function of lack of information or excessive misinformation and or mischief. Ladies and gentlemen, in a short while, we will be demonstrating to you why we believe the Electoral Commission neither lied nor erred in its claim that the verification equipment are obsolete, and that we must all support their efforts to deliver a new voter register going into the next election. And we are going to take the equipment one after the other. And you are fully aware that when we talk about the biometric verification management system, we are not just talking about equipment. We also are talking about the data center and the equipment that house the database. So we'll be taking the equipment one after the other. And we'll start with the biometric verification registration kits, which is the BVR kits. In a response by HSB identification, and let me say this before I come to the response by the HSB identification. Supertech Limited, which is a vendor, at some point realized that a lot of the equipment, and I'm referring to the BVR kits, had broken down and needed some refurbishment. So they wrote to their manufacturer, which is the HSB identification. So HSB identification gave a response to Supertech. And so, in a response by HSB Identification BV, the Netherlands, which is because relative to repairs of faulty BVRs, indicated that items in the BVR kits, including laptops, are EOL, which means they are end of life. This implies that there are no parts to repair the various components that make up the kits. And it is important that we explain what the BVR kits are. When we talk about the biometric verification registration kits, it's not just one laptop or one tablet. It is different components that come together to make up the kit. So when they wrote to HSB identification, their response was that, these BVR kits, or the components that make up the kits, were end of life, including the laptops. And like I said, that implies that there are no parts available from the manufacturers for them to repair the various components that were faulty. They further unambiguously recommended that for purposes, and I'm quoting from their letter, and this is a letter we'll share with you shortly, for purposes of availability, maintainability, and compatibility in the future, they recommended that new BVRs be purchased. And when I say they recommended, I'm talking about the manufacturers, and that is HSB Identification BV. Copies of this letter, like I said, will be made available to you. And let me just show you what that letter looks like before you have copies of it. You see, this is how the letter looks like. And you can find the letterhead of HSB, where EOL, and that going forward, it is recommended that Supertech tells Electoral Commission to buy new BVRs. Ladies and gentlemen, it is also important to add that this letter was written, like I said, on the letterhead of HSB identification, and it was signed by one Marcel Bougard. So it cannot be the case that the EC delivered well-packaged lies as is being alleged. If there are any packaged lies, they will most likely be originating from the supposed email exchange whose authenticity cannot be verified on the face of it. So if you have a letter like this and you compare that with a letter or some email correspondence allegedly coming from officials of HSB, you would need to just juxtapose this letter with that correspondence or so-called correspondence, and you should be able to make a determination which one actually represents the truth. Whether it is this letter which authentically is coming from HSB identification, or that email correspondence which I can create myself anyway. I just need to create 2 email addresses, send emails to myself, print that out and say, oh, well, this is correspondence from some company and so on. So we are confronting you with the truth, and the truth is that this is a correspondence from the manufacturers who said that the BVRs were obsolete and that the Electoral Commission would need to find new BVRs going forward. Similarly, on the 19th day of November 2018, subsequent to a request for status report by the Electoral Commission to STL, when they conducted preliminary checks in January, they confirmed that the BVR kits are EOL. And mind you, this is from the manufacturers, but I'm talking about the vendors themselves. Normally what they do is that after every exercise, the Electoral Commission would ask them to submit a status report. So on the 19th day of November 2018, they submitted a status report to the Electoral Commission, and they indicated in that report that the BVR kits are EOL and could hardly be supported. The report also noted that a failure rate of 47% for the BVRs was recorded during the 2016 registration. That's creating a major challenge during the registration. Copies of this report will also be made available to you. And this is the status report. You see that it is on the letterhead of Supertech. They wrote to the Electoral Commission and indicating in that letter that the biometric verification registration kits are obsolete and that they recorded 47% failure rate when they were used in 2016 for the limited registration. This, of course, runs counter to the claim made by those who are resisting the production of a new register, that the Electoral Commission lied and that the very basis of their decision to do a new register, which is that the equipment are obsolete, is untrue. These are the letters that belie the claim by those individuals who claim they are resisting the production of a new register, and to which yesterday they said they produced some email correspondence that suggests that the equipment are not obsolete and that the manufacturers and the vendors both agree that they are not obsolete. But you have letters here from both the vendor and the manufacturer, which letters suggest that it cannot be the case that the equipment are not obsolete. So these pieces of unimpeachable evidence belie the claims that the BVRs are fit for purpose and that they can be upgraded according to the manufacturers. We therefore invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to examine these letters we have submitted to you to their full effect and contrast that with the so-called email exchanges the group presented yesterday, and thereafter determine for yourselves which of the two represents the truth. And I am aware that some media houses took their staff through some training, including how to authenticate documents. I am sure that if you subject these documents to that test and subject the so-called email correspondence to that test, I have no doubt in mind that that email correspondence will fail to pass the test and that these authentic documents actually speak to the truth of the state of our biometric verification equipment. This is with respect to the BVRs. Now we come to the BVDs. The BVDs were first procured in 2011 and have been in use since then. The only time the Commission added new BVDs to the pool was in 2013, and indeed it was 500 of them they added to the number of biometric verification devices we have. Any cost associated with the BVD since then has been for refurbishment. It is worth noting that so much money had to be sunk into refurbishing these equipment for use in various elections. The point must be made that repeated use of the BVDs over such a long span of time has worn some of the sensors out, necessitating several attempts at verification, which causes delays during elections. So that when you go to vote, because these machines have been refurbished over and over again, when you go to vote, you realize that some of the sensors are worn out. So you would have to try again and again, even when your palms are not calloused, like you don't have rough palms, for want of a better expression. Even if your palms are neat and clear, because the machine has been overly stretched, it has been used and refurbished over and over again, it becomes difficult for you to have a one-go verification. You would have to try several times before your fingerprints can be picked. Another issue is lower battery autonomy has become a permanent feature of the current BVDs. And when we talk about lower battery autonomy, we are talking about the amount of hours a battery for the BVD is supposed to last. So if originally it was built to last 10 hours, now it doesn't last the 10 hours, it lasts like 5 or 4 hours. So once you have lower battery autonomy for the BVDs, what that means is that there are constant and regular breakdowns during elections. And these challenges associated with the BVDs, in simple terms, are manifestations of a tired biometric verification device. Any BVD that exhibits these symptoms, certainly you should understand that these are symptoms of a tired biometric verification device. And it cannot be the case that the BVDs, as we speak or as we have them today, are not obsolete or are not out of, are out of date. Well, not necessarily out of date, but the fact is that they've grown old and they become obsolete. Now we move to the next important issue, which is the data center. The data center, which houses the biometric database generated from registration, is not spared the agony of obsolete equipment. This situation is confirmed in the letter written to the Electoral Commission by Supertech Limited, dated 20th September 2018, entitled Data Center Performance Issues During Online Registration, as regards the continuous voter registration in 2018. So they wrote to the Electoral Commission during the continuous registration which we did in 2018. And in that letter, which is dated 20th September 2018, Supertech Limited, which is the vendor, notes that after 3 days of online registration, their findings show that the data center systems are slow to the extent that some districts could not register voters due to login limitations and registration timeouts. This was largely due to servers lacking computing power and memory that cannot be upgraded due to old age and obsoleteness. And these are the words of Supertech Limited. We again share with you this letter, and that letter is here, ladies and gentlemen. We are running photocopies for you. This is that letter, the letter that talks about how obsolete the equipment in the data center are. This is the letter they wrote to the Electoral Commission. So, ladies and gentlemen, it cannot be true that the equipment are fit for purpose and that they can be upgraded. The very vendor that supplied those equipment is saying that even those equipment in the data center that house the data center is the center that houses the database, even the equipment there are obsolete. So it cannot be the case that the Electoral Commission is lying, and that the only way to confirm that they are lying is some alleged email correspondence, when you have hardcore documentary evidence that belie those claims, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it is important for us to look at the other issues that were raised or that have been raised. And another sad episode Mass Action has noticed in the group's drama, and I'm talking about the group that says it is resisting the production of a new register. The Mass Action Committee has noticed in the group's drama of unsustainable allegations that, in fact, one of the episodes which we have noticed in respect of the many unsustainable allegations they have made relates to the high cost of procurement. They allege that the EC is going to spend an outrageous amount of money on buying the biometric verification equipment when less could be spent on refurbishment and upgrade. Whereupon they insinuate the Commission might be committing the offense of causing financial loss. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to state emphatically that the decision by the EC to procure new equipment, the basis of which we have already established, would rather be saving this country an amount to the tune of 18,354,500 US dollars. And we will show how this will be done, and in so doing, we'll expose the untrue and outrageous claim that the EC is engaged in causing financial loss to the state. We do not purport to speak for the EC, as we believe they have what it takes to do so. However, we owe it to Ghana and her democracy to present the best for enhancement of the biometric voter registration equipment and execution of continuous registration in 2018 to the EC in May that year. This proposal contained price quotations for refurbishing the BVRs and purchasing of new ones. And this is very important. The proposal STL presented to the Electoral Commission in respect of refurbishing old BVRs and buying new ones. For the new BVRs, and which proposal we are gladly going to share with you shortly. In that proposal, they mentioned that a unit price for a new BVR is $5,983 US dollars, whereas for the refurbishment of old BVRs, the price they quoted was $3,465. And ladies and gentlemen, note these figures very carefully. Now, they were proposing that to buy new BVRs, the Electoral Commission would have to pay $5,983, and that if they were going to refurbish them, they would pay $3,465 US dollars. Now, you just oppose that with the Electoral Commission's procurement of new and more robust BVR kits, which are costing $3,000 US dollars a piece. So you realize that even the EC's prices are $465 US dollars and $2,983 less when you compare that to the cost of procuring, when you compare that to the cost of refurbishing the old ones and buying new ones respectively. I may need to restate this point because this is really, really very important. That the Electoral Commission is proposing to buy the new BVRs at a cost of $3,000 US dollars. But the old vendor was proposing that the Electoral Commission should pay $5,983. So you realize that there's a difference of over $2,983 US dollars between that which the STL would have taken and that which the Electoral Commission today is using to buy BVRs. And if you even compare how much the Electoral Commission is proposing to buy the new BVRs at, you compare that to the cost of refurbishing, you realize that the Electoral Commission is still going to make a savings of $465 US dollars. So between this, which is saving us this much money, even the cost of the BVRs, according to the procurement that is going to be done now, is even lesser than the amount of money STL was proposing we spend on refurbishment. So between this and the proposal that the STL brought, which one amounts to causing financial loss? Which one is giving us value for money? My understanding is that if you have less to give you more robust equipment compared to paying more to get the same old equipment, going for the one which costs less and which is more robust, in my view, gives you much more value for money. So it is ridiculous for somebody to suggest that the Electoral Commission's procurement, which is giving you so much savings, actually amounts to financial loss, and that does not involve giving you value for money. With respect to the prices of the BVDs, and what I just spoke about is the BVRs. With respect to the prices of BVDs, and that proposal, like I said, of the BVRs is here, we will share it with you. With respect to the BVDs, it is a fact that under Madam Charlotte Osei, a notification of award of contract, which we understand by itself is a contract award, was granted to STL, and which was signed on the 28th of June 2018, in which it was agreed that the Commission would pay $917 US dollars per BVD. And quite strangely, this was the very day she was removed from office. The day she signed this contract was the day she left office. Meanwhile, the present EC is buying the new BVDs at $400 US dollars per unit. So between 917 and $400 US dollars, which one is more? And ladies and gentlemen, you realize that the difference between that which the Electoral Commission is proposing to buy now and that which Madam Charlotte Osoi signed as a contract to STL to provide is $500 less per unit. Again, we will share this. I will share this with you. You know, I'm talking about the notification of award of contract. This is what Madam Charlotte Osoi signed on the 28th of June 2018. The very day she was asked to leave office, and this was committing the Electoral Commission to buying BVDs at $917 compared to that which is being bought today at $400. So if anybody stands before the Ghanaian people and says that the procurement as is being done by the Electoral Commission today in respect of the BVRs and the BVDs does not give us value for money, and are even suggesting that it could amount to financial loss, causing financial loss to the state, for us, we feel that is outrageous and cannot be tolerated. From the cost analysis above, ladies and gentlemen, it is absolute mischief for anybody to suggest the EC is engaged in wasteful spending, much less cause financial loss to the state, when all they have done is give the good people of Ghana value for money. The mention of the offense of causing financial loss, in our view, is yet another tactic in a series to intimidate, scare, and/or blackmail the Electoral Commission into renouncing their decision to compile a new voter register. We regard their attempt to insinuate that the value for money procurement that the Electoral Commission is doing amounts to causing financial loss to the state. In our view, is nothing short of an attempt to intimidate, scare, and/or blackmail the Electoral Commission into abandoning their decision to compile a new voter register. We are, however, comforted in the fact that Ghana is ruled by law and that the Constitution protects the Commission from such threats. If the group feels strongly, and by the group I mean those who think we should not have a new register, if they feel strongly that an offense has been committed, the courts are there to address their concerns. Absent that, they should quit the intimidation and scaremongering. We like to address some other issues we find very worrying. The allegation that proceeding to compile a new register amounts to doing the bidding of another political party, and that it forms part of a grand scheme to rig the 2020 elections, is at best an attack on our democracy and at worst a call to violence. Such comments do not only poison the democratic space, but they have the propensity to wreck our beloved nation. Attacking the integrity of the EC in this manner for partisan gains can only achieve one end, and that is democratic decay. And where democracy decays, chaos and instability follow. As a civil society organization, we condemn such utterances in no reserved terms. Ladies and gentlemen, we owe the truth to the masses of our people. In this respect, we will be taking our engagement further to our people in the markets, schools, lorry parks, among others. We believe that these are the major shareholders in Ghana's democracy, and they deserve the truth. They deserve to know what really are the issues driving the need to produce a new register. If we do not take this engagement to them, what they are left with is the many distortions that have been thrown or peddled in the public space. At the end of the day, they will be starved of the opportunity to know what the true and real facts are. So it is our responsibility to take these truths to them, share with them the basis upon which the Electoral Commission is embarking on the compilation of a new register, why we feel it is important to do so, and the facts that support the need to do so. We believe that the more informed people are about the truth, the more active they will be in playing their respective roles towards deepening our democracy. We in the Mass Action Committee will continue to fight for and with the people for a better and more prosperous Ghana. We have a great country. Together, we will and can make it greater. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Executive Secretary of Mass Action. Indeed, I would want to stress more on the costs that's the resistance. I don't want to use an adjective, but enemy of progress that want to undermine the authority and independence of the EC. Indeed, we all know that this country is governed by constitution. And so if you have any grievances or if you have any concerns with regards to how and manner EC is conducting themselves, why don't you go to court? Instead of calling on everybody from wherever they may be coming from, asking them to come and flood on our roads in the name of protest. It's uncalled for, and for which reason, as we do know, we are all enjoying democracy. And the democracy that we are practicing must always accompany that with responsibility. And so if you are a group, you must act with responsibilities. And so I want to call on our Executive Secretary of Citizen Ghana Movement to also share with us his perspective with regards to what we are discussing today. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Atubonfo. I'm a member of Citizen Ghana Movement. I'm not the Executive Secretary. Actually, we don't have such a position in the Federation. What I'd like to add to this is, let's going back to the decision that the EC had to take. In 2011, one Dr. Dunia, can't remember the last name, he's a consultant for biometrics, and he was brought down by the commission to advise on the way forward when the decision was taken to do a biometric voter management system. And his advice is what led to the earlier procurement, and STL was awarded the contract. Subsequent to that, when the new EC commissioner chairperson came into office, that's Ms. Jean, well, as soon as she came into office, there was an existing contract that had been signed to STL to undertake a refurbishment, purchasing of new BVRs, BVDs, which is just exactly what they're doing now with another tender. She also called Dr. Dunia. He came in January 2019. He spent about 10 days in the country reviewing everything that had been placed before him in terms of all the communication between STL, HSB, and the EC itself on the way forward, because the new chairperson felt that the cost was high and she needed advice. Dr. Dunia then advised that in the face of the high cost of the refurbishing of the old system, meanwhile, as we all know about computers, even a day, one generation would change. So he advised that since there was an advanced technology which cost less, he felt it was opportune for the EC, once the vendor, STL, had already given indication that the system had reached end of life. So this also adds to why they felt then there was the need to adhere to what STL had already been awarded. The only difference is they didn't go forward with that contract because upon market survey, they realized that there were cheaper options, and that's what they've gone ahead with. The opposition that they are facing in acquiring this new system sometimes baffles some of us, because the entity tender committee of the EC always has 2 members from Parliament sitting on there. So we presuppose what happened in 2018 before Ms. Charlotte signed the notification of award letter included these members on that entity committee. The present entity committee also has Dr. Okoboy and Dominic Ayeni, who's a Deputy Attorney General, and a bright one as that. And there is also someone from the Attorney General's Department, Mr. Publi or something. And all these guys, these are learned people. Are we saying they can't read between the lines and see exactly what others are seeing? Because they sit with the documents and they haven't spoken against what is going on. So one can only draw this conclusion that the fact that the vendor has changed from STL, we don't know who has been awarded a new contract yet as of today. The EC hasn't mentioned to us. So the vendor has changed, the chairperson has changed. Those are the two variables that have come into effect now. And if people are resisting these two and didn't resist before, what are we supposed to think? It makes one have lots of thoughts coming up as of why the interest in the old vendor and the old contract. We would encourage all Ghanaians to take pains to follow what the EC is doing, especially when it comes to collection of biometric data, because we know the security implications of storage of such data, rather than bother ourselves with an opposition to them, because by law, none of us can dictate to them what they do. In terms of compilation of voters' registers, the EC does that every election, whether it's a new register or updating of the register, because just by visiting a polling station to check the exhibition of the register, you are confirming that you're going to vote. So after that, they compile the register for that election. They would never use the 2016 register as it exists for any election. They would clean it up, put it out there for people to come and confirm they are on it or not. And those who can't find their names, get their names put on there. So it's a form of registration that is done every 4 years. So there is no qualms about that. Pardon me. So our friends who feel the new register amounts to an election raking, we all remember what the petition of 2013. We remember what Justice Atuguba told all of us, and that is part of the lessons that was learned and ensured that the 2016 election did not encounter any challenges, because every polling station had the result posted. And once it's posted, wherein lies the rigging? It can never be rigged, because there are people who vote and never leave the polling station. They stay there till their votes are counted. So it beats my imagination how anyone can talk of rigging in the 21st century Ghana voting. Our elections have come a long way. It gets better every cycle. And we trust that come November, when the elections is held, the EC will rise again to the occasion. Whether we like it or not, they will deliver their mandate. The only thing we can do is to stop the noise making and police what they are doing to ensure we protect our data, because it's our fingerprints, it's our names, it's our addresses, which in the wrong hands can be used for any malpractice. So at this point, all I would encourage us as a nation to do is just to police what the EC is going to do. If anyone thinks there are breaches in the procurement law, the courts are there. It's not in the court of public opinion. That is the law that this country is guided by. Our country is guided by a constitution, and in the constitution, when there is anything that is of a kind of misunderstanding between two parties, we take it to the law courts. We don't go on the streets. We don't hold press conferences to explain and win there. When you do that, one is tempted to think you are up to no good and just mischief. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon. We hope that the media, as part of the body politic of this democracy, would help the EC achieve its goals come November this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Atu, for having us this afternoon. Next is questions time. Friends from the media, if you have any questions, you can direct us as to how to handle you. We are here. Mass action is for you, is with you, and for you. We are here to serve your interests. And as you do know, this is just the beginning, as we always say. We want to always serve you better, serve your interests better, and for which reason we are here. If you have any questions, it is welcome. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. My brother, what is your question?
My question is what? You provided correspondence between STL and the said manufacturers, that is HSB identification.
Yeah.
Now, I challenging the authenticity of the email correspondence the other group provided, which forms basis that the Electoral Commission lied about the current state of the BVMs, and finally, the new vendor, as we've been told, Thales. Do we know why they are changing the manufacturer to a different manufacturer? If yes, can you share with us the information?
Your last question, I didn't quite get that.
I'm talking about Thales. Now, the new vendor has been told that it's Thales is going to handle the BVMs. Now, we are told that the Thales is not going to deal with HSB identification again. What I want to know is, why is that so? If there is anything like that, can you give us some information on that?
All right, thank you very much. For us, to your first question, whether we are challenging the authenticity of the email correspondence, well, we are not in a position to challenge anything. We are just giving you the raw facts, the truth, the evidence as it is. The documentary evidence that suggests or that tells you that the manufacturers themselves have agreed that the equipment are obsolete and that we need to buy new BVRs. That is the correspondence from the manufacturers to STL.
But if you look at the correspondence from the email address as well, the same manufacturers admitted that the BVs
and that's what I'm saying. How do you authenticate?
Are robust and fit for purpose.
You see, and that's what I'm saying. We are giving you these facts so that you compare them with the email, the supposed email correspondence. And like I said, I can sit in my room and send emails, create 2 email addresses and send information to myself. And that is why I took the pains to talk about the training some media institutions I know went through in respect of how to authenticate a document or how to quote from an authentic source. If you juxtapose the letter they wrote to STL with the so-called email correspondence, you should be able to come to some determination regarding which one is more authentic. And I shudder to think that the same manufacturer would be given 2 different positions to one entity. It would be unreasonable to do so. And that is why this is not a letter that was written yesterday or today, in 2020 or 2019. This is a letter that was written in 2018. So it cannot be the case that the Electoral Commission acted out of, some misinformation, or they just decided to do that which they think they should, without recourse to advice from the manufacturers. And if somebody is claiming that an email correspondence happened on the 1st and 2nd of January 2020, compare that with a decision. The decision to compile the new register was not done in 2020. It happened sometime in 2019. And this was subsequent to several pieces of advice from the manufacturers and the vendors that the equipment you have are obsolete and you need to replace them. And we have given you the letter that confirms that correspondence from the manufacturers themselves. So it would be strange that the same manufacturer today in 2020 will be writing to say, oh, they did not say that the equipment are obsolete. And more so, I have difficulty authenticating something somebody calls an email correspondence. There's nothing on that.
It gets discredited there.
Exactly my point. I'm telling you.
You don't have the expertise to authenticate, so why don't you discredit?
To authenticate what?
The email correspondence between them and the manufacturer.
That is the point I'm making. That if you are having a correspondence between two entities, I should be able to tell that this is, if it were on a letterhead, I shouldn't have any difficulty believing that. And like I said, I can create two email addresses, send one to myself, and reply myself. Print that out and say this is correspondence between two entities. If we do not have any official correspondence between the manufacturers and STL, because mind you, EC did not buy directly from the manufacturers. They did that through a vendor. And it was the vendor that made a request on the manufacturers. And their response was clear. So I shudder to think what the manufacturers would be doing by saying that even though we responded to our vendor, but one random individual somewhere has written to us and we are saying, oh, we are discrediting that which we corresponded with. We wrote to STL. Because STL is the entity that does business with them. Some regular, random, I don't even know if that name is an authentic name, would write to them and they will say, oh, let's discredit our correspondence with our vendor and say that, oh, with you, it is not the case that the equipment are obsolete and what have you. And that's why I'm saying that you are the ones to do the determination. Take the facts as we have confronted you with. Compare that if you were running a business and somebody brought this information to you and you were to make a decision between that and that which is roaming in the name of email correspondence, which one would you rely on to take a decision? And I'm saying that this latest stand is yet the latest in a series of stands. You know, when one argument is lost, they move to the next. Now we've got to a point where we have to rely or create email correspondences. When there are genuine, incontrovertible, pieces of evidence, and that is what we are confronting the issue with, that we are bringing the raw fact and let Ghanaians know what the truth is. And to your second question, why, the new vendor has decided not to deal with HSB. Well, that's a determination to be made by.
I don't know that for a fact, but I'm only asking if you have any information.
No, I have no information, and I do not know how. The most important thing is that the vendor should be able to deliver. We are interested in having more robust equipment so that we can do our registration, be able to store our data, be able to use it, and on the day of election, we should have a smooth sailing, exercise. As to how and who they contract to do that for them, I think it's entirely up to them. We should not have a say.
Of HSB identification, would you suggest that the new vendor perhaps continues with,
I'm not in the position to suggest to the new vendor which manufacturer they should deal with. I'm sure they did a market survey to find which manufacturer is more compatible with what the standards they are looking for and so on and so forth. So as for those technical details regarding which choice they make, I think we'll leave it to them to take care of. Yeah. Any more questions?
I think if I can add to what you should remember is that it's a business letter they wrote. It was for profit. I don't think any business wanting profit would end up shooting themselves in the foot that what we have isn't good, because they wanted the business, and that's led to an award which was given to STL, and they were going to purchase new equipment from them. So it gives more credibility to the earlier letter they wrote in 2018, because that was going to bring them money. The EC was going to buy either 46,000 or 10,000, depending on the agreement that we're going to have with STL, because they either had to refurbish the 46,000 and add on, because you know every election cycle some polling stations are added. So they were looking at, on the minimum, they would have sold 10,000. And you can do the math yourself. It's good money for them to try to toy with it. So I would rather put more weight on what was going to give them money than what is just a mere conversation they're having with somebody, because it doesn't lead to money for them. And even if it leads to money, then it brings into question subjectivity. It's not objective because you want to sell. So you definitely tell me that it's not obsolete. Meanwhile, it's a country. I'm buying. I have a choice to move. Thank you.
Any question?
Yeah. Okay. Now, the inter-party resistance against the new voters register, they have confirmed, in fact, through the Deputy Director of Communication of the NDC, that they are going to court. I want to find out court.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I want to find out from you whether, should they go, you are prepared and ready to stand by the EC to, as it were, still push your grounds.
And so if somebody decides to go to court, and indeed, this is what they should have done a long time ago. If you had issues with the Electoral Commission, you felt so strongly about the decision to compile a new register, the first forum to have accessed was the courts. So if after several failed attempts to get the Electoral Commission to abandon this rather important project, they have decided that as a last resort we are going to court, well, we wish them well. And we as Ghanaians will stand stronger and firmly behind, the Electoral Commission, because we feel that our democracy is better served when we have regard for our institutions, when we support our institutions instead of demonizing them. If you have an intention to go to court, why did you? You've already stigmatized the Electoral Commission as being all kinds of things. Now, what are you going to court to do? You've said all kinds of things against the Electoral Commission. But better late than never. They can go, Ghanaians will be solidly behind the Electoral Commission. And we do so in defense of our democracy, we do so in protection of the national interest. Anybody at all can go to court, but going to court necessarily doesn't guarantee victory. So we wish them well, and we wait to see when and how they go to the court. We'll be there.
Let me just add this one. One of the arguments that inter-party group they've been advancing is the issue of cost.
Yeah.
And then you said that getting new equipment will be much more cheaper than refurbishing the old ones. And you also indicated that the manufacturers are saying that some parts cannot be obtained.
In fact, all parts cannot.
Yes, and then you give the figures around 5,000 and then 3,000 thereabouts. So on what basis are they giving these figures that refurbishing them will cost about 5,000 or so, and then getting new ones will be 3,000 if those parts cannot be obtained? On what basis are they giving these figures?
STL brought a proposal. How they were going to procure it, we have no idea. Because initially they had already advised the Electoral Commission that, the truth is that the BVRs as we have them, sometimes, even locally, they attempt to refurbish them. But it has got to a point where the manufacturer says, some parts that we need to do the refurbishment, we've stopped producing them. But I do not understand why and where the STL got their figures regarding the refurbishment of old BVRs from. But the fact of the matter is that the very original manufacturer had told them that we cannot give you the parts you need to do the refurbishment. And if you look at the status report, they indicated that they are having difficulty doing the refurbishment because the manufacturers, to use their words, are failing to behave or to conduct themselves. That's the word they used. Which means that there are technical and fundamental difficulties. If this could be refurbished in a way that would not be problematic, I'm not sure the STL would have suggested to the Electoral Commission that we need new BVRs. And mind you, the refurbishment is not for all. They were proposing to refurbish about 1,600. And even so, and it was on that basis, because they've done refurbishment in the past before, so they can easily tell you how much they anticipate it will cost. But I want to believe that subsequent to those quotations, they realized even if we want to do it, we are going to have difficulties. And we are saying that the proposal to do the refurbishment, mind you, the Electoral Commission did not accept their proposal in respect of those figures, because when they brought the proposal, that was when this new commission came. They looked at the proposed refurbishment cost and the cost for new BVRs and said, look, if we can go to the market and get it for far less, why don't we do so? That was on the basis upon which they said, look, we need to buy new equipment, because the refurbishment, already we are told there are no parts for it, yet there is a price quotation for it. So even so, there is some kind of dilemma. If we decide to say do the refurbishment, how are we going to do it? So these are the fundamental issues that have contributed to the decision to have new BVRs. Because you don't want to have a situation whereby, okay, you agree that let's do refurbishment, which in itself is not going to guarantee that you would have more robust equipment, but it's very expensive. You pay, and at the end of the day, you are even having difficulty with the refurbishment because there are no parts according to the manufacturer. So that is the situation or the dilemma, which I think the Electoral Commission, having gone through all of that, decided that, look, to save ourselves the trouble, we need to go for new BVRs.
That's it.
Yeah.
Are you aware that before the compilation of test carried biometric voter register, there was a consensus that after that biometric data compilation, there's going to be the compilation of a new or a completely new
Consensus
register, and that there's going to be there's going to be subject to subsequent or frequent upgrade by adding on to.
When you say consensus, where was that from?
Yes, so political parties met.
Where?
They met in Ghana. Yeah, that's
When
what
you say they met in Ghana,
So are you aware of that, or you are not aware?
there was no such consensus, and that's why I'm struggling very hard to find where that meeting
There
took
was
place.
nothing for you.
No, not for me.
Yes, you never heard, you never saw.
It never happened. Then how can you have? You see, this is interesting. That you do a new register and tell yourself that we will never have a new register, even when there are.
I'm not saying a new register. The biometric data does not expire, does it?
You know, it doesn't, as
Yes.
far as I know.
So once we have our data, then subsequent there's going to be upgrade.
Okay.
As in persons who turn 18 and persons who attain the voting age
Okay.
are then upgraded on.
Oh, okay. Now I get your
And so
question.
there's going
Okay.
to be a completely new one, as the EC is proposing now. Were you aware?
If I understand your question correctly, that after the generation of the biometric data, there would be no need for us to do new biometric registration. Is that the correct question? Oh, good. I do not remember any consensus, but the fact of the matter is that if you do biometric registration and you generate the biometric data, it has to be stored in a certain format. Initially, the format in which our biometric data was stored was proprietary. And yeah, the format in which our biometric data was stored was proprietary. But now you have a situation whereby the new reading equipment or equipment that read fingerprint and palm images are structured in such a way that they no longer are compatible with storage formats that are proprietary. So you would need to have your data stored in a certain format that can be read by these new equipment that read palm and fingerprint images. The unfortunate thing for us is that our data was stored in a proprietary format. Now the new equipment we are proposing to buy cannot read the data as we have them stored today. So if you do the migration as people are suggesting that, oh, why don't you just migrate the data from this point onto the new equipment? What is going to happen is that you are going to lose image, the fingerprint image quality is going to be compromised. And in some cases, you can't even read the data because it's stored in a certain format. It's just like going to buy, and I keep citing this example, going to buy a 1972 Mercedes-Benz. I mean, removing the engine of a 1972 Mercedes-Benz and putting it in a 2019 Mercedes-Benz. It will move. So you have the new equipment today. Nobody, and if you don't mind, I can give you the ISO specifications of the current image reading equipment. And those specifications are to the point that you cannot have data that is stored in a proprietary format being read by those equipment. That is the basis upon which the Electoral Commission is saying, look, if we buy the new equipment, which everybody agrees we must, you buy the new equipment and you transfer the data onto this new equipment and you can't read them. What then happens on the day of election? That people come to vote, they put their fingerprints, no image shows, nothing shows. Can you imagine the chaos? It's not as if the Electoral Commission enjoys doing new registration. Nobody enjoys doing new registration. And like I have mentioned, when you go to register, you place your palms on the scanner. When the scanner picks your fingerprints, it processes that into what we call, or to generate a biometric template. It is that biometric template they compare with all other biometric templates to be sure that the fingerprints are unique to you. Then after that, it is stored in a certain format. And I'm saying that the format in which our database, our biometric database was stored, was proprietary. Now, the need has come for us to buy new equipment. Unfortunately for us, the new equipment as we have them today would have difficulty reading the data as it is currently stored. That is, I mean, the fundamental point. And a lot of people understand that, but they pretend they don't understand. If it were that easy to migrate out, why would the Electoral Commission go through the trouble of having all of us come out again to come and register when they could easily just migrate data? Nobody wants to go through that trouble. And the other advantage of this is that you go and do a new register that now can be stored in a format that the new equipment you are buying can read. It also helps you get rid of illegal names on the register. There is a Supreme Court ruling that says that anybody who used NHIS card to register is an illegal person on the register. In 2015, when we tried to do the cleaning of the register or audit of the register, let me tell you, people got tired and left. We couldn't get rid of all the NHIS card holders on the register. And their continued presence on that register is an illegality. So if you have this difficulty of a data set of data stored in a certain format, which gives you an opportunity to do new registration, and the added advantage is that you get to also take care of people who are on the register illegally. I do not see how others would be. I rack my brain to find what really is the reason why people will be opposed to this, because what disadvantage does it occasion to any political party that we do a new register? As for the issue of cost, it's been defeated severally. The issue of cost, we have discussed it and you realize it's unsustainable. The argument of cost against the new register is unsustainable. So what else is the reason? And now we are told that it will enable somebody to rig the elections. How can registration help somebody rig an election? That, on the day of the election, they will say, okay, the registration was done in such a way that it will be easy for somebody to get more votes. How is that going to happen? So for me, anybody who is opposed to this new register, I still cannot understand why, because so far all the arguments that have been advanced seem to be unsustainable. Okay. Yeah.
I think your arguments are quite sound. However, have you engaged these other people, find out? Because based on certain explanations they are given, you realize that they also have, cogent arguments they are trying to.
Could you tell me one of them?
I mean to say they are technical. That is their IT team. Have you?
I was at the IPAC meeting, like the meeting with the advisory, eminent advisory committee. I was at the meeting. They came to do their presentation, and I cannot qualify their presentation as cogent. So if it's about listening to them, I think I've listened to their explanations on different platforms, and I had the opportunity to listen to them also at that platform. And nothing different was said from that which has been said in the public domain. And all they do is just the rehashing of the old argument that you can migrate the data onto new equipment and so on and so forth, which argument has been severally demolished by different technical explanations and so on. So it is as if it does not matter how much explanation, it does not matter how much information you present. The determination is that we don't want a new register and we'll kick at it. I mean, we'll kick against it no matter what. So even if your arguments are convincing, the point is that they've made up their minds not to listen to anybody else. And convincing or having an engagement with such people can be a difficulty. And it is important for people to recognize that the way they keep shifting the goalposts, now the argument is about timelines, that they are sure the Electoral Commission cannot even meet their own timelines. They can't even do the elections within the time they said they have done. And my question is, why do you want to cry more than a bereaved? No political party has ever conducted any registration in this country to have the experience to say that, oh, looking at this time frame, we will not be able to do it. The very institution that does the registration says, we will do it and we can do it. You sitting somewhere who has never done that says, oh, we were looking at you, you can't do it. And I find that, you know, a bit unacceptable. That you want to be more experienced in registration more than the Electoral Commission. That is not possible. And yet that is the argument that people are running to town with. That, oh, looking at the time, you can't do it, and so on and so forth. Wait until the Electoral Commission says we can't do it or fails to do it. Then you say, oh, we knew you couldn't do it. But until then, the Electoral Commission has done this. And the Electoral Commission is just not 3 persons. It's not the chairperson and her 2 deputies. It's an institution. And it is that institution that has been doing the registration over the period. And they know what it takes to do a registration. No political party knows what it takes to do a registration. All we do during registration is to send agents to go and monitor the process. What goes into the procurement, the training of staff, and we have no clue how that happens. Yet we want to, at this point in time, because some people are kicking against the register, we want to say that, oh, we understand the process more than the Electoral Commission. That, to say the least, is unfair, and we need to, you know, quit making such comments. Any more questions?
I think last one.
Sure. Yeah.
Since it appears that perhaps
I'm defending Ghana's democracy.
Ghana's democracy.
Absolutely.
But we are told that as we speak, procurement hasn't concluded, and it will take about 3 months.
Says who?
That's the information you are making.
From where?
Sources at the Electoral Commission.
No. You see, this is the point. It is this same group. The group yesterday, in fact, took it upon themselves to give us timelines of procurement.
So
that it will take 84 days. Sorry.
The kids would be arriving in the country.
That the kids will arrive in 3 months, and yet they gave us a date of 18th April. Sorry.
After the agreement.
They have not concluded on contract and procurement, and your source you claim is from the Electoral Commission. For me, beats my imagination, because that very institution, I do not want to speak to some issues I am privy to because they are not yet in the public domain. No, you said you have sources. No, you said you have sources, and I think these sources you have are misleading you. The truth of the matter is that, as far as procurement goes, the Electoral Commission is on course. And like I said, why do we want to even cry more than the Electoral Commission? Everybody in this issue, especially those who are opposed to the production of a new register, are becoming more Catholic than the Pope. They want to tell the Electoral Commission that, to the extent that people are even suggesting, that they know how long it takes for machines to be produced. When you have never even bought one machine, and that, oh, it will take 84 days, and that it will take 3 months for that to have to arrive. And now coronavirus has become yet the new victim. The coronavirus has become the reason why it is not possible to have a new register. And that's the point I'm making, that the goalposts keep shifting. Now coronavirus has been introduced into this. That's the point. The coronavirus has become the new reason why we cannot have a new register. But before coronavirus, they already resisted the production of a new register. So it tells you that at every point now we are holding on. People are just grabbing onto anything they can find as an excuse for us not to have a new register. And that for me convinces me even the more that there is a need for a new register. Because how coronavirus gets into this equation still be smart. Let's have a review there. Okay, I think I'll just speak to the issue about obsoleteness. Okay, Mami, okay. And then in Shimwa, I pese ye church Ghana for Nientia Microphone mu say and say ye new register Nientia and run your muya and Shimwa muya no and Nina so bia who share Niomodibe 2 Jano or which I say obituary email and the command perform produce BVS no sa email literature Microphone and Case sa abe from Fidina year registration no ayedada but no prayer home no say wo hwe nkrate eye letter some manufacturers no extra demand profo a omo ba omo ho say ye pe BVRs ntimunya mai esan say ye ni electoral commission for e wo contract some profo no from STL omo no mo call manufacturers no ye from HSB identification omo na omo ye some fidie na ye de registration no enti nkrata na omotro edikoma STL no in fact I say na ye kai say in 2011 na STL for ekoto sam fidie no every HS before her now after 7 years fidie ni bi starting nya problems e bi starting nya problems bibri ti omuko omo ho say ankebe yi e pese musa be refurbish ana musa be siesie fidie na amotoma ye no eno mu tro nkrata yi edi ma o mu se sam fidie mu fidie bia wo nimre mfidie na yeto ma mu no nimre no etwem enti ye jai sam fidie ni ye nya biem enti mfuto a yedi be ma mu ne se ye koye nim no ese electoral commission eto mfidie fufro sa letter na o mu tro no enu ni en sa date oda o mu tro sa letter no 18th May 2018 enye ne no mu tro sa letter no enti se obi a waye mfidie ma o se fa ye adwuma wa traman se obesiese mfidie ni bi man na wa tro letter yi ama o se se de ya jaye na ni ese wo ye ne se koto foforo electoral commission ni ese o mu ye ne se o mbehwe edie na ebetimi atom mfidie foforo na na nti omudi omangasa ye omo assessment esa akopɛ consultant e ba ye no omuhu se ebehia se enimonimu ya ebetom mfidie foforo nti sa letter yi e kire se manufacturers na nkasa no omo jitu mu se esese ye to mfidi fufuro but endra ni omo se omo mpeni register no omo di nsem no betu omo di nsem betu ya se manufacturers na nkasa but later yi e kire se sebi ni omo kan ni nye no kra because wo hwe we nkrate wo hwe krate e wo letter ni omo tro ye no e wo letter ye so nipa no e sign ni bibi ni e kire se ade we afri omo ho ni nyina wa ha e na sebi enye ne ana endra e na omo tro sa letter yi later on the 18th of May 2018. And Japan saying all of a sudden, obviously, on the what Troy email a moment on my reply, HSA, Sa Krati, and Yanu Craig. Now, and some job for Yedi Sa Yabamunim, Senabea, would the way and this our email no better to him. No more near him, Yanu Craig. And the truth is that you cannot come to any conclusion, but to say, indeed, Fidiana Yedi. Yedi Troy Dino and Yedi to Abano. I bet that we shall we cry Yedi Troy Dino. Your Muya San Fidino and said, San Fidino Ayadada. And in your Muka and Rano, Woody to 2 na a webra. And like I said, we shall we and in your Mosi a email no. Won't you mean this email Lindy? A bra letter way. I tron 18th me, Edima Vendano. And can who say, Nipana, yes, your Troy email. Is there some random person on yet? Obi a oni omuwo nkitahudie bia na omu ye adwuma bia the person is just a random person who claims he wrote to them as trying to inquire and no man reply between sanipa no any dwumaku a omu ni sa manufacturers ye adwuma a omu no omu supply ya kan say mfidie no through STL no omu atwa ma STL say mfidie no aye dada between omu sanipa no any STL any letter omu trauma STL ni ehin na say ye gidi. But when you naturally say, this year, I quite be said, when be so no, ni essay bia to discredit the need for a new register, Yabeka, and no be the Yogi, and yes, sabi, no crack one soon on mana, because no crano, any say if you didn't idea restriction I had that I say yet to fulfill. Now so I email like enter me say me why met me at them. Now I create 2 emails, now I send emails to my now I print up as a way there free you can't send microphone home. Who be them who say no correct. But later way who shall later you say yes, later you or much ready my STL lampa. Now so later each say if you deny that. Until if the basis upon which they are opposing the production of a new register no yes say and you no crescent if you deny data. Ah, no credit. Let's say some muja in your muye because no credit no abededi. And some muja in your muye no because if that is the basis, no credit. Na so mu hwehwe no kura nko ade na aba de a eso mu gya no mu ye no no mu form ahon ne enta isifo ne chi nti yesre ga na fo se obia emfa na hon ne enta isifo echi na da no duru a obia bra bonti no be chiro ne din na uchiro udin a enu na be ma otumi na wa decide ni opeso be o mampanyi ana o member o mrasha mrasha be dwumi ni enza na kan ana o MP ma menka na MP na mentom bon nti we dear nshemu aye is to let Ghanaians know say Electoral Commission nyombe ye no e ade ebeboa Ghana kabina mkabe amammo no ye nyina yemfa ya hon nta o muti se na be ya ebetimi ahye kabina mkabe amammo no kina nti em say the top of one ana that was all right. Is there coronavirus?